So we're starting in like 5 minutes. We're going to give everyone a chance to get in, upload their Zoom and such like. Good to see Isabel here. Hi, Isabel. And, Tom, hope you're well. Steve. So Gert, how is the weather in Hamburg?
Awful, most awful you can think about. So it rained all day, just in different strengths. Sometimes it was pouring, sometimes it was just a strong rain. 3 degrees, it was windy. So if you were going out, even umbrellas did not work. So I can tell you, this is a day for a TV evening or a good wine, but don't get out. That's
Or a discussion on the move from
or
task automation to
alternatively,
agentic
yes, a
AI
very good
and what
listening
it
to a very
entails.
good discussion. Yes.
I wanted to tell you a weird side story. So I was in Korea for my honeymoon just 3 weeks ago. And the weather was autumnal, 16, 17, 18 degrees. And we went down to the coast for a couple of days. Anyway, South Korea just 2 days ago has had the worst snowstorm in living memory. And they have something like 20 centimeters of snow in Seoul,
Woo.
which we sort of like just
I was going to say you came out before that, right?
just in time. And you can see the thing that Irish people have in common with British. We like to talk about the weather, apparently. Yeah, the weather and tea. These are two things that we can.
Do you also have in common that as soon as it snows, the traffic is a complete mess? Because that's what I know from London. Two snowflakes and nothing works anymore.
And this panel is a conversation between two snowflakes. No, it's look, we're Ireland is unusually warm. This is the kind of weird thing we have to say. Like, so Ireland is just mild. So 18 degrees is hot, and 2 degrees is cold. So we get snow, and when it happens, it is it's something that will keep us engaged. Like, we all remember 1982, if well, guys of my age, because the country shut down, basically. Yeah?
Oh.
So, but that was, to be fair, a blizzard. But yeah, we would be similar to the British. Like the snow, we have no facilities to really deal with that. Rain, we're good with, yeah. So just for people who've joined, we're going to start getting stuck in about a minute, and we're hoping that you'll ask questions. And I have a bunch for Gert, and Gert may even ask me some questions too, just to make it interactive. Yeah. Hello, Tom. Hi, Ivo. Jakob. Gert, I will start to gently introduce you now. Okay, so as I was saying a little earlier, you have a great background. Someone who's perfect for this kind of conversation. I saw that you started, or at least early in your career, you're with Sun Microsystems, then spent quite a period with Oracle and Splunk before joining Blue Prism, and you've been there 6 years, and you presently run a group of solution consultants. So that seems like a fabulous background for this conversation regarding how our space is evolving from task automation to agentic AI and enterprise automation. So I'm from Pointy. I'm running sales here. My background has been around, I would say, young companies for the last 20 years. But prior to that, I got my sales training in Cisco and Intel. I'll tell you, two very interesting places, very different companies, but Intel being more marketing, I would say, and Cisco being a real sales beast. So I've joined Pointy there 6 months ago, and I've really fallen in love with the space. I'd already spent about 6 months researching it before I had the chance to join the guys. So I'm really looking forward to a conversation here and to get your views on the space. Okay. Shall I start with a quick question? Yeah.
Like just why not? I'm happy to be here and looking forward to an interesting conversation. In all honesty, because I think it will be more than you asking me. It's not an interview. It's rather I think it should be a conversation. So,
exactly.
But there may be some good ideas that you have to ask for to get this work starting.
Yeah, absolutely. So we imagine a nice little fire we're having.
Yeah.
In your case, a cognac, and in my case, a single malt from either Ireland or Scotland. Well, be patriotic, I'd take out the Irish one. I suppose since you've joined Blue Prism, where have you seen the biggest changes from, in terms of how companies are adopting this kind of technology, and under the remit of the topic we shared on LinkedIn, in terms of task automation, enterprise automation? How big a change have you seen in those 6 years, and what are the 2 or 3 breakthroughs that you think have happened over the last couple of years?
So let's start with the motivation to do automation, because when I started, it was all about FTE savings. Everybody wanted to reduce headcount, and even when we started, I had a tremendously good mentor, and he told me, do never tell the customers that they will lay off people, because in all honesty, even at that point in time, it was rather give those employees of our customers the opportunity to do the things they are good at, doing it better. But today, a lot of companies have realized that by doing small task-based automation, it is very difficult to raise value at scale. So if you save for individual employees 10 minutes a day or something by automating a very, very tiny task, even if you do it 100 or 1,000 times, this will be very, very difficult to create value, for real value for the company. So the companies are today less talking about raising value by reducing FTE, and that's apologies if this sounds like advertisement, but that is where my team really helps customers. And that's why we call ourselves consultants, because we support customers in finding value, what they are doing, and also articulating the value that they are creating. And there is a Forrester research, the total economic impact study, that says basically, and whoever wants to have that, I will post as soon as I have some time to type that in. I will share that. That says that the bigger part of value that is derived today from automation is in the top line, rather than so in increased revenue or quicker go to market or whatever comes as a top line, and that is much bigger than the cost savings. But, and here comes the big but, and that is where my team comes in. It's not that easy to get this measured, and this is where we try to give the people ideas of the values, and where we try to support in measuring that. So that's, in my eyes, the number one, the top change that I've seen. The other top change that I have seen is that the market in the past 6 years has split a little bit, and yet again into citizen development. That was a big word 2 or 3 years ago. I would call that task or personal productivity improvements for individuals, and into more the process, the end-to-end, maybe not end-to-end, but in larger processes that are not only bigger than individuals that are being optimized, not even bigger than a process that is just spanning across one department. It can cross several departments, and that is what currently drives the most value for our customers. Also, yet again, in the top line. So these are the two core changes I've seen.
So a side question is just first off for the audience, please, if you have any questions, just drop it into the chat box and we will get to everyone's questions during the session, which we expect will end at around 10 to 5 at the latest, Central European time, I should clarify. Now, thank you for clarifying that. So you've mentioned the growth of citizen development and the fact that these particular task automations are not necessarily enough to always move the needle. Now, at some conferences I've been at where the conversation is regarding agentic AI, vendors are positioning this. But if you talk to the people on the ground, they're often still talking about trying to get candidates for automation through their setup. Do you think that companies have gotten better now at making those candidates more productive? In your last 5 or 6 years, are there more cases now because of experience that companies can really kind of drill down in and actually gain more benefit from those automations?
That's a good question, because I think in the first years of automation, and plenty of companies started 2018, 2020, they had a lot of real good ideas how to start. I would call them those obvious ones. Those were obvious. 100 people or more were doing more or less the same. That could be very well automated. Today, we are pushing our customers more into first look at the value that they are searching for, that they really need to achieve, and to see then how they can create the value that they would like to have. So look first for the value that you want to achieve, and then see where automation can support you in that. But the problem is, and you asked for that, in the first years, there were really good examples of how automation could help them. They found I would call them low-hanging fruits, which were probably not only low-hanging, but also very ripe. And today, now that the low-hanging fruits are all harvested, they are looking into a different set. So, and I think that is very, very challenging for some companies to find what's next. And it also quite often extends the duty or the responsibility of the COE, because quite often, and this is the change that we are now seeing with customers, that there are some COEs, some teams, some automation teams within our customers who have managed to become part of the corporate strategy, being, if there is a big project, do we really need to implement that in code, or could automation help us achieve results quicker? That is a big thing. And unfortunately, there are also some COEs that we see that are still working on I would call it the low-hanging fruits. Does that make them better or worse? No, by no means. But my fear is, and that is my fear, which I also expressed a few weeks ago when I was speaking, is as long as you only show FTE reduction as an outcome, you are part of the cost center. You're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution to support the business.
Yeah, we would see similar enough stories in Pointy where if the story is a pure FTE reduction one, it's not quite as elegant a way to actually get the trust within the companies, because this is all about doing all of this more efficiently, lower maintenance costs, better preventative maintenance, and better analytics. Of course, there's a lot of other factors. Now, as we slowly move into the kind of the agentic AI topic, and connected to that, another conversation that I will be having at these events with the customers is around getting past the IT department. Often, this is still a challenge or an issue there, and I expect that with the change on agentic AI is almost certainly going to make a big difference here, that trust will become an even bigger issue around governance, around can we do this in a safe way. How do you see that from the perspective of your last few years within Blue Prism, and how the trust levels, I assume, have gone up as people see the benefits, and then how that can be transplanted into a more agentic AI world?
So that fits perfectly into what I was speaking about on Tuesday, and that is trust and enterprise AI. Because I think what we are seeing is that AI, as of today, is used quite often in a very personal setting, meaning someone calls, I don't want to name them, ChatGPT, whatever comes to mind, any llama, on his desk, and then he sees the results. And before it's entered somewhere, this individual makes more or less some guardrails before entering. He's reading the answer, maybe not intensively, but he's looking at it. And if it tells him to send 13 billion euros somewhere by accident, he probably will not put this into a mail or something like that. But that's a problem if you go into using AI in an enterprise way, because if the enterprise is relying on that nobody does so, we are getting more and more into trouble. Into, can I trust the AI 100,0% rather than 99.9%? And that is something where the companies are currently investing. And I don't know if you've seen, there is a good white paper from McKinsey that talks about guardrails, how to implement guardrails around AI. This could obviously be implemented on the ChatGPT itself or wherever, but it makes probably a lot of sense that every company decides themselves what guardrails need to be followed so that the company can trust the outcome of the AI, be it in the case of an agentic AI, just an activity, an action that is being executed, or be it in decision support systems which use AI, where you maybe want to double check if money is transferred to, I don't know, Irania or Russia in today's times. Maybe then your guardrails tell you, please give this to a human to double check if that is really true.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting it's an interesting space for myself, because I've had from maybe 20 years ago, we were touching on AI around the social media world. So basically we're doing this is my previous job I had, where we're looking at social media monitoring and introducing machine learning and AI into that, so you could actually find the ideal conversations, which obviously leads to the fact that this topic has been around for many years. And now we're talking about it more. In fact, I was doing some research prior to this conversation, and vendors like Blue Prism were talking about this 7-8 years ago. And of course, the things have changed since the world of GPT. So, in your own view, where do you see the best implementations of this? And I know some of these might be considered, relatively boring applications, but where do you see that there could be the best bang for the buck in this area to test the potential of Gen AI in our environment?
I've looked internally around, because I have to admit that the customers I am currently speaking to, they are all in the I am yet careful corner, I would say. But some of the best AI examples are still in one of our bigger markets, and that's in the insurance market, and that is an AI that I really like a lot. That's not a Gen AI, that's an AI which, if there is a damage, in claims management, and if there are sent photos, um, by, by example, from a car, where that AI makes an assumption how much that may cost to repair. And then if there is an invoice, it double checks, is that in line with what we expect as a cost for a repair based on that picture? And that is, excuse me, that's a relatively old example. That's 2 or 3 years old, but that's working quite well. If you look today into more sophisticated examples, unfortunately, plenty of them are out of the IT security part, where AI is used to what's the English term? Excuse me for that. Basically, to find patterns in attack vectors, and then use these patterns to see, are there other activities that look similar to these known attack vectors, so that the activities can already, before the damage has been taken, can be taken out of making damage, just because someone uses a similar technique to a known attack. That's currently a very high value task, I would say, because we all know that currently IT security is under big scrutiny, under big pressure to deliver.
Yeah, I'm actually, if we look at the stack, or how AI and Gen AI will touch our technology stack. So obviously vendors like ourselves, other players in our space, and indeed your competitors, and I guess you'll have existing ones and new ones coming up. We will all have our own take on this, and I expect that a lot of our customers will consume this technology through using Pointy, using Blue Prism, using whoever else. In our case, for example, it's introducing it around the area of preventative maintenance, so that you're actually seeing, rather than, in fact, to go back to my old days in the space, we did topic detection. That was great, but you get like 300 topics, which was bloody useless. But now with the proper implementation of AI, you're actually finding, okay, here are processes that are under threat, and you're, rather than being inundated with 50 of these messages, you actually get 5 or 10, and maybe look at these before they become an issue. And that's a genuine application of this technology in the real world. So, and I think that it's going to be really interesting as to how much of this will be companies buying in AI pure play, and how much of it will be just players like us and Blue Prism, adding this in, and slowly but surely saying, this is a comfortable use case, that you could actually say, well, now I'm actually using artificial intelligence, but in a more safe capacity. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those both they combine very well, because in all honesty, there is so much movement in the AI market today that the best thing any company can do is being open to whatever comes in 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. And if you stick with one company, and I don't want to blame Microsoft with Copilot or something like that, this may become old. I don't say it will become old, but it may become old, and there may be some newbie on the block who has a much better AI for a certain given requirement. And if you allow yourself to use, basically, I'm taking the old word of best of breed here. If you just allow yourself to take what is best for you, then you are at a very good spot. But still, you should have guardrails around that. And who can do this better than a process management or RPA tool that surrounds the call to the AI and makes sure that the guardrails, like test for reasonability, test for some words, test for size of the money attached to it, and encircle your AI with some guardrails by calling that through the means of RPA or a process management tool.
Great. Just a reminder to the group here that you can drop a question just by clicking on the chat icon and write what you want. We're open to discuss any topics in the area. Gert, I was interested in your take regarding how Agentic and other advances in this space will change who gets involved in the organizations. In your view, will that stay pretty much the same with under the Center of Excellence, or will there need to be a need to actually involve more stakeholders to get topics like governance and compliance sorted out?
So let me start with governance and compliance are exactly the same stakeholders like for RPA. That will not change a lot in that area. But where we will see a lot of change is that RPA, automation, whatever you call it, is pretty much used on these high repetitive tasks. That is where most value is currently still being taken out of RPA. Whereas Agentic AI has the promise to deliver value also for less often repeated tasks. That will mean that the internal customers of Agentic AI will change a little bit. It may be more people in the company that would like to use Agentic AI. I say would like to use, because we still need to think about compliance and governance and so on. But that is where I see a change. Where I don't see a change is in the area of how is it brought to the company? Because within the company, there's also always the ones who are using technology and those who are defining the technology that can be used. And those that are defining the technology will probably pretty much be the same they were before. But this technology may be used more widely than for others. But those who are defining the technology need to think very carefully how this might be used. And yet again, compliance and governance, what is suitable for the company. Can we really afford doing decision A or doing decision B? Can we allow this being done by AI based on several, be it GDPR reasons, but it could also be risk reasons. And the other one is, does the regulation of our industry allow that? Be it industry, be it pharma, do they really allow wide usage of AI in this case?
So yeah, we'll certainly see adoption being affected by those realities. You know, how the regulatory environment will hit your space, and I think that this will have a bigger impact, in my view, than people may even be evaluating right now. But the technology is going to keep moving pretty
Yeah,
quick. Yeah.
I have seen, and unfortunately I cannot share that with you, but there was a study. What are the core fears that C-level executives have when introducing AI? And one core fear is also intellectual property, because quite often either you have the fear of losing your intellectual property by giving that out, but on the other hand, it's also the, am I really allowed to use the knowledge of this AI tool, because it may have harvested illegally data, not only from me, but maybe also from a competitor. And that's a fear that more than 50% of the C-level were referring to.
I suppose you're a good guy for me to ask this, Gert. So Blue Prism is obviously one of the major players in the space. You've done really well as an innovator in this area, but there are other companies who are doing technology in this space, obviously. How do you see that multi-estate aspect affecting topics like agentic AI and enterprise automation as companies take on board, say, new vendors and try different things with agentic? And you know, we've certainly heard of Anthropic coming into the space, or ServiceNow being seen as another competitor. How do you see all of that mix affecting enterprise automation and agentic AI?
Hmm. Let's face it. I'm laughing because that is an internal discussion we are currently driving within Blue Prism quite often, and that is, who are today our competitors? Who are we really competing with? And that is something we need to know in order to understand, is that a competitor or is that a friend? You know, you were talking about ServiceNow. Is that a competitor or a friend? I cannot tell you by heart, and that depends on how in individual decisions within all these companies. But let's face it, there's always some customers who prefer and we've not named the big German software company yet, SAP, who prefer to have all of their IT environment being provided to them by SAP. They are getting less, I have to admit.
Indeed.
But there are lots of companies who say, I take everything from SAP and I'm fine. There are others who take everything from Microsoft and they believe to be fine. And then comes reality. Even those companies, I can tell you that there was a time and place where even some of these companies who were providing that were looking into others helping them, because they noticed that their own technology may be limited and may not help them. Meaning, in other words, there is always a space for specialists. It may become smaller. I won't deny on that, but it is also a part where you can grow in other areas. For instance, I don't know if you know that, for the audience, Blue Prism is strongly growing in the BPM market. We have, from while we were taken over, we received a market leader in the BPM space. So we try now to put into our customers a combined message. If you use BPM and RPA together, that's better for you. And so I think, yes, for some of the smaller challenges at the customers. There are so many software out there. It could be, as you said, ServiceNow, but there are also at least 10 or 12 small companies who have some specific automation qualities that help you. And if that helps you, perfect. Why shouldn't you take that? I have to admit, why shouldn't you take that?
No, indeed. I expect the challenges that they will face is not having an infrastructure in place already. So they'll have to come in afresh, and there'll be a lot of I would say onboarding challenges. And this, you know, I'm not anti-innovation. This will certainly happen, but this is where I expect vendors like yourselves will have a little bit of an advantage or a head start, so to speak, because you know the right people, and they have kind of somehow trusted you to do that.
May I add one thing, because I just need to mention this here, and that is methodology. Methodology in terms of you need someone who can tell you how to set up automation in a governed, efficient, whatever, compliant way.
Yeah.
And we believe that after more than 10 years well, more than 15 years of selling automation, RPA, we have a very proven methodology called the ROM. Sorry for the advertising moment here.
No, but it's rather important. Now, Mark asks, or Mark puts forward a question. So obviously, Gartner are one of the well-respected groups talking about our industry, and he says, is Gartner's the boat framework driving RPA vendors to broaden their functionality, and how do you see that being applied or supporting agentic automation? So thanks for the question. I'll put that to you.
Thanks, Mark, for that question. Actually, boat is a very interesting beast. The more you look at that, the more we feel comfortable, because I said before, now that we have a BPM tool and an RPA tool, or intelligent automation tool, in under one umbrella, it is the perfect example how to play this. I am seeing not so many RPA vendors going, at least I don't know what they do internally, but externally, I'm seeing none of the large players really going into the boat market, none of the large RPA players. What I see is that the large BPM players are now going after the RPE market. So they are rather going down. So if you look at Appian, if you look at Pega, they all of a sudden have found a new love in talking to customers about their task automation qualities. So I rather see BPM vendors going down than RPA vendors moving up. But that may be because I do not have perfect insight what our RPA competitors are currently internally doing. How supporting agentic automation, I am seeing, and I'm seeing that agentic automation is as of today. I'm not talking about what is in 2 or 3 years, but what I see today is very strong on the personal productivity layer. Getting agentic AI to do something in an enterprise, like Boat is describing, will give you big trouble as of today in getting this into automation. At least that's my perception. So that's why we have coined the term enterprise AI, not as alternative to agentic automation, but rather what do you need to do to drive AI in the enterprise, and to push AI in the enterprise so that it is complying with your governance requirements, with your I've talked several times, governance, compliance, and your own requirements. So to answer your question short with one sentence, I think boat is enhanced very well by enterprise AI. Boat and agentic automation are more sitting on two different spots. I would say citizen development and agentic automation as of today have a higher value in employee experience, employee satisfaction, because this gives the individual employees the chance to be more productive on their day-to-day work.
Yeah, that's
so there is another question in the chat, I think, if that answers your question, Mark.
Mark is quiet. I'm hoping that means he's happy.
He's happy, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes, thanks.
So Katerina asks, as intelligent automation becomes more advanced, how do you ensure that bots are continuously improving without continual manual intervention? This could be partly for me as well, but so what we've seen is that as there's a, say, increase in bots as a mature program, the cost of maintenance is not declining, so it actually can continue to rise. So in our case, and I'd love to get your input on this too, Gert. In our case, we're obviously supporting that by using preventative maintenance, self-healing, those kind of things to actually reduce the amount of downtime and reduce ultimately the cost of maintenance. And I think when there's a relatively small program, that amount of maintenance is not going to make a big difference. But in a mature, established program, I suppose companies like Blue Prism get better at making sure it's running, scheduling is better, all that kind of stuff. But companies like Pointy and others are there to actually make sure that the self-healing is actually keeping the system up longer, and the preventative maintenance aspect gets you to the issues before they happen. And we're actually seeing in some recent client wins that in pilots, customers are finding that and actually being able to activate that immediately, which they obviously see the value then. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents worth. What's yours, Gert?
I could not say a lot more, because the one thing where we are seeing currently AI in IA, so artificial intelligence in intelligent automation, also is not only improving but also reducing the error rates, not only by maintenance, preventive maintenance, but also by recognizing the forms. It's quite often still not API driven, but by filling in forms, by recognizing the content on the forms with AI, and finding, or the AI helps the tool not failing if a field is renamed, or if some underlying changes have been made. AI may help there. So a lot of AI is currently used to increase reliability and effectiveness, because where AI can be used, I think we're yet at the spot where humans need to decide upon that and need to maybe even have the idea what could be automated. Of course, there are AI tools to do that, but I don't want to go too deep into that. I'm more talking about the idea. Could we use, I don't know, some semantics or something to find something? But that is currently more on humans. And I'm not talking about 2 years. I feel unable to look forward more than a year right now.
Yeah, that's probably smart. Good advice for everyone. But so we're gonna wrap up. I just wanted to say, like, from my perspective, we're incredibly excited by how this technology will actually impact things around the maintenance area and obviously productivity of these tools. Because obviously in the case of Pointy, we're not making the bots or the digital workers. We're there to actually maintain them, and there's going to be a lot of an introduction of this technology into players like ourselves, where we can actually, because we're already in the setup, put forward things that will actually fit within those guardrails and the compliance.
Yeah.
So we're tremendously excited about the space. Now, thank you so much, Gert, for your input. It was incredible to have someone of your experience here, not just within previous roles, but 6 years within the space directly. So I appreciate your input. I was wondering, just to tell the people who have stuck around, we will be making sure that those articles that you mentioned will be put in the show notes in LinkedIn, or indeed following up and with an email to make sure you get access to that. And I'd like to thank you so much for joining us. Maybe, Gert, you could actually finish up with your final thoughts on the topic area, and if you had anything you wanted to tell the audience.
Well, final thoughts. Thanks for this good discussion. Obviously, I need to say so. So really, really interesting questions, and I apologize for not having had the chance to ask something to you. You constantly came with new questions. Thanks for that.
I'm sorry.
I think when looking at the market, what we see is, let's say it like this: we will see an increase requirement for playing with IA, and I would recommend to everyone to have a thorough look what AI can do for you, and in parallel have a thorough look at what are the risks, so that when you are being asked, you can not only give your colleagues, peers, managers a reply what could be done, but also have a good overview of the risks here, because that is probably exactly the next question you will be asked to. Okay, if we do so, what are the risks? So please, and I do not say have fear of the risks, but be able to name them, because then you can make a good choice.
Well, we certainly live in interesting times. Gert, thank you so much for your time, and we'll have a recording of this if anyone else wants that, so we'll share with the audience too. So appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. And unless there's no final questions, we shall call this a day.